Hey guys, we showed you some Japanese Gadoman on some previous videos, and that resulted in all sorts of questions, people wanting to know more about the Japanese Gadoman, so we thought we'd show you a little bit more. So this is the most common one that you'll see, is the Roadworks Gadoman, who usually has a white flag and a red flag, and more often than not they're doing exactly what he does there, which is absolutely nothing. He's just standing next to the sign to give the sign some credibility, but he really has nothing to do. The roadworks were actually right over the other side of the hill from that guy, so he was there just to make sure that you saw the sign that said there's roadworks. And that's often the case, more than often the case, is these guys will just be standing around with absolutely nothing to do at all. They've got their white flag and their red flag in case they need to stop the traffic for some reason, and the rest of the time they're just standing there. And usually in big numbers too. In some countries with roadworks you'd usually have a Gadoman, probably, flagman, wouldn't you? But in Japan usually there's lots of them at each roadworks. So it's actually mandated by the police. The police tell them how many they have to have. So if they're on a street that has lots of exits and entrances, they'll have to have one for each entrance or something. We showed you a video previously with a short stretch of road with 14 Gadoman on it. Quite common. Here's a funny one. There's a set of traffic lights here, and for some reason it needed a Gadoman as well. Actually it's a lady Gadoman. There's no PC in Japan. It's a lady Gadoman, and she was basically just mimicking the lights. So when the lights went green, she'd go green too. And here's these guys on a country road, the quietest country road you've ever seen, nobody around, there's two Gadoman standing there, and no cars, no traffic. So quite often, particularly in this case, so now we're getting onto properties now, we're off the road, and for example this guy here, here's another guy who's giving the sign some credibility by standing next to it in his fancy uniform. And no actual duties to perform except stand there and give the sign some credibility. The same place. So we've had one already, two, three guys so far, and this guy here. And what this is more about greeting the customers. This is more about making the customers feel that the company cares. Here's another bunch more. They're not actually doing anything. They're waving us on there. We've got a green light, we're on the main road, we're driving past and he's waving us on as if we should continue. Well, yeah, of course we're going to continue, we're on the main road. So they're not really actually achieving anything except sort of greeting the customers, really. And very common in car parks of shopping centres and things, lots of Gadoman who don't actually do anything. I mean, when you're looking for a space to park, they won't even show you where there's an empty space. They'll just sort of stand there like this guy's doing and not actually do anything. I mean, obviously we can't drive out right there because there's a car there. He'll wait till that car goes and then he'll wave them out. So 99% of the time they're not actually performing a function. Here's another one. This is actually the entrance to this workshop. It's actually on a little side street where there's no traffic at all, and he's standing there in the rain. And he'll wave when a customer wants to go in, he'll just wave them in, and when they leave he'll wave them out. So they're not really performing a task. If you ask people, they'll tell you that it's for safety, but in actual fact they're not doing anything. So here we are. This is actually a government building. Tax office, actually. Tax office building, and here's this guy out on the street. And government departments often have lots of Gadoman in the car park, and again, not achieving anything. They don't show you where there's an empty space that you could park in, which would be a useful thing for them to do. They don't do that. They just sort of stand around. Here's a funny one. That's a ticket machine. You know, the sort of thing you drive into a car park, take your ticket. Now he's got to put on his white glove, push the big green button, and hand the guy the ticket. Now, if he wasn't standing there, the guy would just push the green button and the ticket would pop out on its own. It's an automatic machine. And there's three guys there. There's three guys there doing this, which obviously isn't achieving anything. So we made a video previously about smart biz in Japan. That was our own concept, what's required in Japan. And, you know, when you look at this, you can sort of see what we're talking about. There's three guys here, three employees, two in uniform, one just standing there smoking a cigarette. And there's no other way, quite often this is the case, there's no other way to go other than out that entrance. So they're not really you can see here the trucks come in. He's not directing him. He's not saying, yeah, go in there. He's just watching, basically. And that's usually the case. They're just watching. Here's a guy directing us around a corner. There's no other way to go. There's a sign behind him with an arrow pointing to the right. There's a locked gate behind that. There's only one way to go. It's already marked. See the exit sign? It's pointing to the right. So that's all he's doing. He's mimicking the sign, and we're going around the corner. So, as you can see, 99% of the time, they're not actually doing anything. They're not actually doing anything. They're not showing you where you can park. They're not stopping traffic for you. They're not doing anything that really helps. Here's another one. We're leaving a restaurant. This guy's just standing there on the road, and he'll put up his little Darth Vader lightsaber there to tell us to stop because there's a car coming, but we can see that. We've actually got good visibility here on this main road. We can see there's a car coming. So we're going to wait anyway, whether he's there or not. So our advice to anybody who's going to be driving in Japan, or even if you're just a pedestrian in Japan, see he's waving us out. Our advice is, if a guardman holds up a flag, red flag, or a wand, or something else, there's another guy on a straight piece of road directing us to continue. But if a guardman does tell you to stop in Japan, we recommend that you stop, because it's the safest thing to do. However, if a guardman tells you to go, so for example, when you're driving out of a place onto a main road, don't necessarily trust it. You're better off looking for yourself, because there's been so many times where Gadoman have directed us, have waved us out of a car park onto a main road, and we've looked and there's been a car coming. And if we hadn't looked and just pulled our nose out, we probably would have got hit by the car. And we've had that a few times. That's not an unusual occurrence in Japan. Because quite often these guys are older guys. As you can see, they're sort of half asleep. This guy here, he's sort of nodding off because he's got nothing to do. So you can't rely on them. So again, our advice is, if they tell you to stop, you're best off stopping. But if they're waving you out, see this guy's waving us out, never go out there without looking first, because you just don't know how switched on he is. And quite often they're not trained. Those ones we showed you at the gasoline station, probably not trained, just young guys. And quite often they're not paying attention, or they've got no idea, and they can get you into trouble. So look at all these guys here. There's only one exit from this car park, and it's marked on the road. It says exit right there. And we've had 3 Gadoman so far showing us where to go to the exit. That's 3 so far. We're coming around the corner. We'll come across number 4. And again, really not achieving anything. We know we can see which way to go. We can see there's nobody on the pedestrian crossing. And this guy's a classic example of watch this. Just watch this. That Gadoman needs his own Gadoman to keep an eye on him, I think. To keep him safe. So, if he waves you out onto the main road, you don't go unless you've had a good look first, just to make sure there's nobody coming, because he might well wave you out onto the main road and there might be a truck coming. There could well be a truck coming, so it's best to have a look first. Gadoman in Japan. There they were. Bless them. More videos coming soon.